Guys, it's Chris, and today we are on the game side of my semi-finished basement, and we're working on the Panasonic 3DO FZ10. What I got going on here is this. This unit right here has a problem with its DVD drive, and we're going to play that example to show you what's happening. This unit has been recapped in my previous video, and I have another one down here that we're also going to be repairing too. It's a very simple process. What happens is, don't worry about this white cable, this is a power cord for a HDMI upscaler. A lot of times these break and it doesn't depress down. Mine's been repaired. When I click it in, the CD just spins and spins, the light just stays on, and nothing happens ever. It will just not read the disc. But, nope, there it goes, it ain't doing nothing. So it'll just go burp, burp. Turn it off, turn it on, the light just stays solid. It's not, it'll spin, right? It spins, but it doesn't move the head. It's a very simple fix. You will need a couple tools. You will need simply a pair of pliers, these are angled, a little Phillips screwdriver, some white lithium grease, and about 15 minutes of your time. Let's get one over to the bench and we'll take a gander at it. You will need a couple Q-tips. I always keep a pack over here to do some cleaning with. So to start, make sure that you do not have a disc in and flip the unit over. There are 7 screws we need to remove around the perimeter and 1 in the center. So with the 7 screws removed, we're going to flip this over and we're going to carefully lift up. There's nothing holding this in. So just set this aside. You'll notice you'll have your laser here. You'll have this plastic piece which simply removes. So set that aside before you drop it. Now on this unit you will see a piece of threaded tape. Take your pliers and just remove that edge. And it might rip on you, but you know, once you get a good grip on it, you can go ahead and pull it off, because we're going to be, we're going to be removing this piece anyway. Now it's thin metal, so try your best not to bend the living crap out of it, because it needs to go back on for aesthetics. What it does is it fits inside this unit here, and if you left it off, you just have this gaping hole with the mechanism. There are 2 prongs, like pegs that stick through. Don't worry about those. There are also 2 of these clips, and that's why I have these little pliers. So I'm going to grab these and just pull up on them, and they should pop right out. Like that. Some people say you can poke through the bottom holes, and even I did on my previous video. Don't worry about that. If this is in your way, this is just plastic, be careful with it, but you can remove it from the power supply. And go ahead and remove the second clip. Now before you go yanking on this, remove this piece of metal first and set it aside carefully. There are 3 ribbon cables. There's one in the front right here for the main bus. It just plugs in. There are 2 thin ones with the lift up kind on the back. One here, and one underneath. What I like to do is lift up on this one, which is the CD drive spindle, and pull that out. The next one, before I go pulling on this, just reach underneath with your screwdriver and lift up the tab. This is the CD motor mechanism, and this one should slide out too. Flipping it around to the front, you will have one laser motor control here on the right, or the left, I'm sorry, with an orange and brown wire. There we go. Carefully remove that, and you'll notice it is in this little track along the side. There's a little track in here. You want to try and keep it in that track, because there's a resistor here that gets pretty hot at times. With those removed, lift the unit up ever so carefully, slide out your main connector, and then the final blue and brown spindle control from the right hand side. Now sometimes, due to age, these tend to like to pop off the white thing, so just be careful removing it. Like any CD drive here, these legs are lubricated for the motor control via lithium grease. This worm gear on this side controls it moving. Now you should be able to move this ever so easily. Now you can slide this with your finger, but it's going to click. See? If this does not turn, oh my god, it's tight. See how this is barely moving? Well, it's not moving. If I get in here like this and turn it, it will, there we go, it'll start moving again. But that's great. What happens? Well, if you move this cable out of the way ever so gently, you can look in here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. I'm trying to focus, but we're looking in this hole. There is a worm gear that takes the horizontal movement of the motor and puts it into a 90-degree horizontal on this worm shaft. The problem is this gets dry and this can crack, but it's not the end of the world. What can happen is when this gets tight, take a small screwdriver, and these two covers, just give them a twist to loosen them a little bit. Just a little bit. Ugh. Now, here's the important part. There's 2 Phillips head adjustment screws on each gear. Loosen this just a little bit. They're green Loctited in on both sides. One horizontal, here's the other horizontal. Loosen these up. This will limit or give it more of a little bit of room to wiggle. On your tube of lithium grease here, I am actually going to squirt some in this hole. And if it comes out, fine, because we want to grease this also. Okay? Not like crazy, but just, okay, now you see how easy this is moving? I'm barely moving this with my finger. And it's spinning freely. So much easier. When you take these 2 screws and loosen them a little bit, one here, one there. See that little tiny white nut? One there, and there where my thumb is. There's one right here. Okay? And by putting grease in this hole and moving this back and forth, don't grab the laser, roll your finger to move it. And get it rolling a couple times. What you're going to want to do is take a Q-tip and push that grease in. You might have to do this several times. Just push it into there. You will see the worm gear basically moving and absorbing the grease. It'll suck it in. I go back and forth several times. You'll notice the motor control will get much easier to move. And if you're really good on eyes, you can actually look in this side in the holes and you can see the grease doing its thing and working. And I usually like give it 3 or 4 rolls on each time and then just pack some more grease in here. Always be careful of your ribbon cables. Now if you want, you can also apply some lithium grease to the rails itself. Just a little bit, and that will help the assembly slide along. If you're getting some extreme clicking, don't force the laser like that. Don't hear that noise. That's the spring assembly skipping the teeth in the gears. You don't want to do that. You can if you have to move it out of the way, but preferred method is to roll it and let it do its own thing in the tracks. And then when it gets too close, just move your finger down. See how nice and easy this is moving now? This is now moving freely, and you will have no more problems with your 3DO motor control. Now, some people are having issues where the solder joints in the motors here are coming undone, or here. This is a small limit switch right here that detects when the CD laser head gets all the way to track 0. If your spindle is not spinning at all, check for the 2 pins here. Also a stuck switch. You can spray some deoxit in here and make sure this moves freely. This is what causes your CD motor, along with this little ribbon cable, to spin it. So now with that, let's zoom out again. And I'm not worried about touching the laser right now. We can take some alcohol and wipe this off in a moment. So we're going to put our unit back together. Okay, so with that, I got a copy of Road Rash here. Replace your plastic cover carefully for your power supply. This is just strictly to prevent you from shocking yourself, and it will fit. Just be careful when you move it around. Alright, so with that, we're going to turn power on to the thing, and we're going to turn power on to the unit. The laser should move back. You'll notice I did not put the cover on, but I will put the power light cover on. So I'm going to replace the cover here, ever so carefully. There we go. And we're going to use our 2 plastic pegs and push down in the opposite corners. 1, and near the front, 2. Alright, I'm going to put the cover back on without the screws because I don't like to screw anything until I'm done. Clicking the unit down, now we'll have to close and turn it back on. Now we can see the power light and the access light. We should see a 3DO logo in a second. Did my monitor turn off? Oh, there it is. It's a 3DO. Let's see what we get. It should be road rash loading. You can hear the unit. Much better. Your 3DO will thank you. A 3DO experience from Electronic Arts. And if I had sound, you would hear the Rusty Cage song from the old 90s video of the police chase. This is a great game for 3DO. And I have an upscaler that takes this and converts it into 1080p HDMI. So it does a pretty good job, actually. But this is just composite 640 by 400 or 480. And there it goes. It's going to load the game. Hear it? We're good to go. And that is how you save a 3DO FZ10 with a supposed bad laser that won't read discs. So with that, we're going to flip the unit over, reinsert our 7 screws. You don't need to go crazy man tight on them. We're just, giving them a snug. They are coarse thread into plastic, so they just go right in. Nice and easy. The benefit of these FZ10s is most of them are sold for parts or not working because of that exact problem, so you can pick them up for like anywhere between 20 and 40 US dollars online broken and take this 10 minutes, fix them, and have yourself a perfectly good working 3DO console. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching as always, and I hope you learned something.